Hello. Welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network. That was silly. Didn't work. It's kind of fun. But basically, I just wanted to put more crap at the front of the show so Mark can swear at me some more while he's editing. So anyway. Welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network. Got to take time to thank everybody who joins us every week, show hosts, people in the chat. Also want to take time to thank Jake and Ryan over there at Patriot Patch Company, as I'm making all sorts of noise. These are their 2 patches for the month of November. You've got your turkey patch and your shopping patch, and so, yeah, here we go. All right, so you've got your shopping patch and your turkey patch, now that I can tell my left from my right. Right, so we want to take time to thank them. They've got all sorts of cool stuff, not just patches. Pardon the dog whining in the background that wants to get on my lap. Come here, Gracie. Come on. Get up here. Putz. Hey, Ross, here you go. Here's your Gracie moment. So, don't sit on the keyboard, dog. No sitting on the keyboard. See, they got spoiled when I was doing this out on the couch because they could sit next to me. And now that I'm in here, I'm not on a couch. So, anyway. All right, Gracie, that's enough. Hi. Yeah, you can't be part of the show.
What's you drinking?
What you drinking?
Hey, it's been that kind of week. I'm about to knock back this whole 4-pack.
Oh, so what you're saying is you might get a little rosy cheeked before we're done.
Yeah, on this 0 proof alcoholic beverage.
Is that alcoholic or is it alcohol free?
No, it's grape juice. It's just, the stuff you get the kids on New Year's.
Oh, okay.
I
couldn't read the label.
Like they drinking something.
So, what's everybody been up to?
Not much. I had to work all weekend. I don't think you did. You didn't do anything this week either. So
I did the American dream.
Hit the lottery and bought a house on a boat?
No, the other one.
Oh, you went duck hunting?
No, I did more than that. I actually had a great weekend. I got up, I qualified and got my my NRA pistol instructor
Look at you.
certification. But I'm only saying that here because I'm not advertising it to anybody. I'm going to use it for my community service volunteer stuff. And
awesome.
If friends and family find out, then they will be trying to take advantage. And I'm trying to encourage them to invest in their training and not mooch off their training.
Right.
So it's just for volunteer stuff. But to add on to that, I went quail hunting for the first time, turned around, went to work, barely went to sleep because I was so excited, got up at 4:00 in the morning, went to go get some duck. And then I cut it real close getting into work at 5 minutes for me to clock in. So I did the country thing. I went hunting before clocking in for work. So I got to hunt all weekend and adulted just enough to not get in trouble. And got some of my birthday and Christmas stuff early.
Well, that's always a good thing.
Yeah, especially since I don't get cheated anymore since they're in the same month. And I'd have to say this is probably one of the favorites. I have 2. This is probably number 1.
You got to show that one off because I saw the pictures.
Oh man, this is
no scared.
Yeah, and the brand is Boker, which I heard is a pretty good brand, but it fits my hand real good. And some of y'all, actually, I don't think any of y'all are aware of this. I have an obsession with sharps. So I sew, like I'm not a seamstress, but I can tailor and sew really well. So I have a collection of scissors, and I've always had a nice collection of knives, and I like to carve up meats and stuff well. So knives are kind of important to me. And oh, and then I got one more. I like this one too.
Damn, yours is bigger than mine now. I feel jealous.
Ha 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 ha. Size matters. And that's was supposed to be my knife I carry at work at my part time since I can't carry my pistol. So I'm okay. It pokes things, it cuts things. I like it.
I like the fact that you can just one hand.
Tell me about it. Oh, wait. I got another one.
This is a Boker, by the way. I've had this for about 2-3 years. So it holds up pretty good.
I got another one. This is a TMI. Hold on.
Special item.
This one.
Now, see, if it's in the bra strap, it's not TMI. Now, if you had to dig down between the girls to get it out, then it's TMI.
I usually keep a magazine there.
Hey, it works.
They serve multi-purpose.
Which magazine?
But this one, this is a gift from my manager, and it's all the rave with the ladies that go exercising. The only exercising I do is chasing down the ice cream truck, but
hell yeah,
I'm all for it. That was my weekend. Hunted, worked, killed things, ate things, cut things, got knives.
So Lead Bullet Junkie weighed in on your comment. He says, if you're training someone how to do something that requires a special certification, then they should be paying you for your time and experience. Family and friends should support each other, not mooch.
Oh, Lead Bullet Junkie.
Amen.
Oh my God, you're making so much sense. But
Amen
reality is that does not happen. Although when they gift you things like this, that is
well,
supporting.
See, that's kind of you can do a quid pro quo on that thing. So
that's bartering there. Yeah.
Well, this person gets extra special privileges. My honey got me this. That's a different kind of barter.
There you go. Idaho Rogers USMC says nothing beats a 3-blade old timer. I don't know. I don't know.
Not a fan.
I am a fan. I used to have one. I had one growing up till it got taken from me in high school. So that was back before they passed that silly law that made it illegal and all that fun stuff. But but I love this Boker because it is a one-hand opening and it's nice. It holds an edge real well. That's my favorite thing about this because I use this for cutting about everything other than flesh, boxes, tape, whatever, and it still holds its edge really good. So, but now everybody's throwing out their favorite knife types, and Paul Loud's got a question for you, Jason.
I'm on it.
Okay. So, crap, I don't even remember what I did Saturday. It was busy.
Yeah, real good.
It wasn't firearms related, so. And then Sunday was my usual going to. Sunday was my usual working at Cabela's, so.
You know what somebody needs to do, since some of you guys like memeing people, somebody needs to take Jason's picture, since we mentioned modeling, and kind of do him up like the Dos Equis guy when he's standing in front of a reloading machine with ammo. Because, he's got that refined accent and tone, and he sits there looking all Dos Equis model guy like. Somebody with what is it, Paint or some photo editing software should do that. I don't always reload, but when I do. I'd buy that print.
That's a pretty funny idea. So when you mentioned community service, is there a backstory to that, Sharinda? Something we need to know?
Well, for me, when I first got started, I didn't really have any resources or know where to go to get started. So I kind of like to be a liaison or a referral just in my community in general. So 2021, when all this is over with, I'm actually working with a couple of groups, including the conservation, where I'll actually go into the city and introduce conservation, basic firearm safety. And that's my community service, or basically people that, they want to go ahead and pay an instructor and get proper training, but they may want to talk to me about gun safety or go to the store and help them pick out their firearm and that type of stuff. And I'll show people how to clean their guns and discuss the 4 safeties and get them started with stance and grip. And then once you get the part done where you're not so nervous, then I'm going to go ahead and push you off to the people that have been doing it for 30 plus years that I trust.
Gotcha.
I bet Travis did something great this past weekend. He always has fun.
Nice of you to join us, Travis. Did your mom make you do your chores before you could podcast with your friends?
Well, I have to pick up my little brother, so.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't really do anything interesting. I think I just reloaded, went to the gun range, and yeah, that's it.
Travis, a little while ago, we discussed kinetic energy, possibly causing a fire. I've got a video for you to watch. Have you ever seen Smarter Every Day?
I've heard of them, yes.
So his latest video, he's launching a baseball at the speed of sound, and he tries to catch it with mitts. And one of his slow-mo videos, it actually, there's fire involved as that baseball, leather-wrapped baseball going through a leather mitt.
Nice.
Which I thought was an excellent way to explain kinetic energy. You might check that out.
Remind me, when did we talk about kinetic energy?
When your range caught on fire, and you said probably somebody in public shooting steel core.
Mm-hmm.
That might not be the case. Well, we don't know. I used to think the same way until I learned about kinetic energy and what it can do.
Mm.
You got some of that short-term memory loss?
I do.
Me too.
High school was awesome.
I don't remember high school. It was too far ago. So
Jim's not here. I'll tell you guys, I am working on a special project that I think all of you will really enjoy. I'm not going to discuss exactly what it is until it's out, but it does involve a shirt or a hoodie, kind of like what Hunt Shoot Off Road did. But I think you guys will really like it. I don't know what Jim's going to think about it, but we'll.
Nobody likes a tease, Travis.
Well, I'm supposed to get some artwork back in a couple days here, so I'll show a couple of you what it is, but we're going to have to keep it on the down low for a little bit.
Oh, good grief. Oh, brother. All right. Nick, you want to do the cartridge cartridge corner?
We can do it, yeah.
All right.
Not doing that. Oh, you're right. No, hang on. All right. So the cartridge corner of the week is 8x56 millimeter rimmed, also known as 8x56 Steyr or 8x56 Hungarian. The cartridge was adopted in the early 30s by Austria, and then in 1931, the Kingdom of Hungary, and in 1934 by Kingdom of Bulgaria, as it replaced the 8x50 Mannlicher, which was a smokeless / black powder, semi-smokeless black powder cartridge. So it was originally created for the Steyr light machine gun, as known as the M30. Later, the cartridge was adopted in use in 1931 and as the M31 to replace the 8x56 Mannlicher cartridge. The updated cartridge was considered with an update to the Steyr Mannlicher 1895 straight pull, in which the barrel length was reduced to chamber and the chamber recut to accept the new cartridge. And it was the cartridge chosen by Hungarian for the 35M as the replacement for the Mannlicher 1895. The 8x56 rim was adopted and used in versions in Austria and Hungary machine guns such as the Solem 31M and the 07-31M. It is a semi-tapered. Where is that? I just lost that. Where did that go? I just had that. Just said that. Where did I lose my spot? There it is. Okay. The 8x56 rim is currently produced by Hornady and Privy Partisan for commercial sales. It is no longer used by any organized military forces, while many models were brought into the U.S. and sold at retailers such as Big Five. It is much higher of a surplus rifle rounds, such as 7.6x54R and 30-06, making 8x56 arm very uneconomical to shoot for the average shooter. Reloading the 8x56 can be difficult for some people. It uses its own diameter bullet, which is a 329.329 diameter, which is what the barrel is. Commonly average 8mm is 323 I covered a couple weeks ago. So if you use a standard 3x23, you're gonna have a very loose bore. Open base jacket bullets, such as the 323 grain, 240 grain round nose bullets were used in the original 8x50 cartridge, will often produce better results, but are difficult to obtain. However, the reloading situation for the cartridge, at least in Europe, has improved significantly in the last few years. I reload it. I actually have a M95 Stutzen carbine. I actually got a mold from Lee, which is a 240 grain. I don't remember. I think it's somewhere in the 240 grain. I'm powder coating it, which I enjoy doing it. Shooting with my gun, mine is almost brand spanking new. It was re-arsenaled in the 50s. So shooting modern PPU through my gun isn't the easiest because I don't want to misspeak. The neck is running into the end of the chamber, the throat, which is causing me not to be able to extract the brass. So I have to shorten my case, and I just do a light powder charge using a lead powder coated bullet, and it's a sweet rifle to shoot. It is a straight pull, so it runs off a Mannlicher in-block magazine, 5-shot. Once you seat that 5th shot into the chamber, the end block falls out of the bottom, and once you fire and extract, you're able to load the final round or a new end block clip into the action. So. And nice thing is, if you have a original 8x50 Mannlicher, you can use the same brass. It's just you got to use different dies, of course, and you just have to size and trim your brass to a different standard. You just want to be careful if you do have 8x50. loading it to, you don't want to load it to 8x56 specs. You want to load it to 8x50 specs. But other than that, they're a fun gun to shoot. If you have, and they're really on the cheap side to get into, the Steyr M95s. I picked mine up for about $200. They're still around that $200 price range today. So, but that's it.
All right. Awesome little cartridge. Kind of another one of those that late 1800s, early 1900s, or first half of the 1900s, where there was a lot of different cartridges that were just kind of created one over the other, and kind of seems like a lot of them were, one was modified from this, or they got the idea from this, and so a lot of cool stuff. By the way, Shrenda, this is for you. That's from Chris Sharp. So, where did the question go?
You talking the one from Charlie Foxtrot, Mike?
Nope, not that far. I went way back in the beginning. So, let's see here. Where'd it go? Now I'm looking for the one from Charlie Foxtrot.
7/25 is when it was posted.
From Spudman?
Nope, right before that, Charlie Foxtrot.
There we go. Okay, so Charlie Foxtrot wanted to know, hey, Nick and Ray, I'm restoring a BRNO Mauser. Any tips on refinishing the stock or reloading 8mm Mauser? So first off, what I want you guys to explain is what BRNO is.
So Bruno is the manufacturer, which is Czech Republic.
Okay.
Which is also, for people that don't want to go by the manufacturer, also known as the VZ24 or VZ24 variant of rifles. So, and then he'll answer that he knows more about refurbishing the stocks more than I do. He does more of that work.
Well, you have to first thing look at what's wrong with the stock. Is it beat up, dented up? Why do you want to refinish it?
Mm-hmm.
If it's got dents in it, first thing I would probably do would get some mineral spirits, pour out steel wool, scrub the stock down, then get you a wet rag and your wife's old iron, steam out any dents. That takes some time, then clean it again. Then just several coats of boiled linseed oil, hand rubbed in, or tongue oil. About 5 or 6 coats of that. Then buff it with 4-aught steel wool when you're done. And that's typically how all the military stocks work. I'm not one for totally getting that stripper out and restripping them and restaining them. I kind of like the older look, but steaming out some of the dents does help.
You mean you're not into like Cerakoting them and putting them into a plastic chassis?
I cry whenever I see a military rifle that way. It makes a tear come out of my eye.
Oh, come on, those SKSs with the Tapco.
You can get
stocks.
it. What's funny is if you can get one of those dirt cheap, you can get an SKS stock for about $50.
You and I need to talk afterwards because I have one that I actually inherited from my brother-in-law, and it is in a Tapco stock, and it needs to go back into a wood stock. So
Sounds good.
We need to talk after. So
Actually, find the mags for SKS.
Mags are dirt cheap, like $20.
No, the factory or plastic one?
Factory, they're
No,
okay, no, I know what you're thinking.
the Chevron metal mag.
they've gone almost extinct right now. I don't know why. I guarantee they're in a crate somewhere in some foreign country.
probably all sit in Czech Republic.
Somewhere.
Yeah. So, and then tips on loading for 8mm.
depending on what you want to do, if you just want to go target shooting, I recommend getting into casting. What we do with most of our 8mm more is cast and powder coat and just plank. Hunting, there's tips and tricks for hunting. We don't do much hunting with rifles, but it just all depends on what you want to do. I recommend don't push the cartridge because you can just especially with an old military rifle, just target shooting is what most guys are doing. So just 1/2 to 3/4 load and should get you set. So I might, because Charlie Foxtrot, you're not the only person to ask about 8mm Mauser loading for it. So we might, okay, so plinking, I might do a video series kind of talking about loading 8mm maybe. So we're doing we did shotgun, we're gonna do just standard rifle, it looks like, right, Mike?
We're gonna do pistol next.
Pistol, so I can maybe do
we've got one more shotgun show next week. The guests couldn't make it this week, so. And then Paul Loud wants to know, what did you say for 8mm after you said cast projectiles?
If you do hunting, it all depends on what you want to do, but it sounds like Charlie is doing plinking. So I would either do cast bullets, or if you can pick up, and I know GGW, he's been asking me these questions on Discord. If you can pick up a lot of surplus 8mm Mauser. So I'm checking all the CMP forums, other gun forums. If you can pick up surplus ammo dirt cheap, that's how I'm doing a lot of mine. Pulling the bullet, pulling the powder, downloading the powder about 10%, and just plinking ammo is really all I'm doing.
Just putting it in a new case.
Yeah, new case, new primer. But that's my only cost. I picked up, what was that, 1,000? Yeah, that 1936 8mm ammo I showed a couple weeks ago. I think I paid $150 for it for 1,000 rounds. So you're into it for pennies to the dollar. So
what are you doing with the old brass then? Just scrapping it?
Yep, just scrapping it.
Is it all Berdan prime then, or box?
Most of it, majority of it is Berdan prime. There's very few. So look, World War II German ammo. There was one manufacturer that did Boxer Prime.
Right.
But I've never seen it in person. I've read about it, but I've never seen a round of it in person. But you can I've seen 8mm brass on sale all the time. Yeah, as Lead Bullet Junkie said, yeah, most surplus ammo you find is going to be Berdan.
You can shoot it in a bolt action gun, but you're going to want to clean it. The problem is some of that stuff gets pretty hot as it gets older.
Yeah.
So, you don't want to destroy the gun. So if you download it 10% in a new case, you're going to be fine. Especially if you're just plinking.
Yeah, if you're just plinking, yeah. There's no point in pressing around. Yeah, even though he said that Bruno has strong action. It's a Mauser. Most Mauser actions are pretty strong. We just don't like to stress our rifles. No point in.
Right.
They've been around for how many years? There's no point in pushing them anymore.
If you're going to do hot loads, use a modern rifle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, I had a question. Sorry. Where'd it go?
H4D. Or was that just a Jason?
It was Noza. I think it sounds like it's a good to go on something.
I think that was it on the 8mm. So
I don't see it now. I don't know if that means they're going to make. I don't know what that means.
Oh,
that's my guess.
okay.
good.
So Ron Martin from Facebook Ron Martin II from Facebook had a question. So I have an unusual question. I hope one of you all might be able to answer. I've been looking for a website or some sorts of information that would give you any specific powder it can give you. Any specific powder. It can give you information of every caliber rifle or pistol bullet, every weight for that caliber or pistol that specific powder can reload. The manuals will show you powder X for this one or this one, but it won't show you everything. Even the powder manufacturers won't show you everything. Unfortunately, the way that the data is compiled for reloading data is it is compiled by cartridge and by bullet weight, not by powder. And it changes so much that for someone to try and do that the other way around, where they would try and find every single cartridge you could load with a single powder, they would be literally updating the site daily. So it's not a very practical purpose for one person to try and undertake, so nobody has bothered to. So unfortunately, no. The closest you're going to come is trying to find some of the powder manufacturers' load data on their sites. Like Alliance got some, Hodgdon's got some, but there's nobody out there that's actually taking and says that you can load. Here's unique, and here's all of the loads and all of the load data that you can do with unique. There's nobody out there doing that.
Yeah, typically, if you look at that load data, and it's given 5 or 6 different powders. If you look on the burn rate chart, those powders are going to be lumped near each other. So you can always pick a powder that's close to it, start low, and work up. I mean, you're not going to find a super hot powder or a super slow powder for a particular cartridge. They're all going to be lumped in that range somewhere.
Somebody else from Facebook said Ammo Guide has a guide for powders.
Really? So the one you got to pay for.
Never been to Ammo Guide.
Oh, we might have a website.
So.
Oh. I'll pick one of the weird ones.
Mike Haas's Ammo Guide Interactive.
Huh. Oh, so yeah, there you go. Yeah, you got to subscribe to find out what powder it is. Well, I don't see a credit card though.
Trying it out.
Yeah.
So I'm looking here. So looks like what they're doing here is they have load data, and then they have a database aggregator, which is searching their database on Ammo Guide and showing you all the different calibers, but it doesn't list all the load data. You would then have to go to each caliber by itself. Now it says for paid subscribers, the cartridge name links to the unique loads for that round. So that would make sense that something like that, you wind up paying for it. So I guess, Ron, there you go. You can go subscribe to Ammo Guide and get your answers that way. So, but
yeah, so 21.90. That's not terrible.
So Daniel Anderson, you mentioned you'd like to see my process. Do you mean like my reloading process? And then as far as pictures and videos, I don't do that much anymore. It taxes my brain to figure out how to get that stuff posted on the internet. And I don't have minions living near me anymore. They're all very far away. And then you asked another question. What was that? Oh, where in California can you shoot that far? So about 40 minutes from me is a place we can pay to shoot. and I believe we can go out to 1,500 there. But usually I enjoy just driving up to Nevada and shooting out in the desert. That's my preferred place.
Wally, I'll take a minute and look that up. Wally Crosby says, where'd it go now? Everybody's commenting fast. I'm slow tonight. Wally Crosby posted, my brother-in-law just asked about casting bullets, and I said he needs to listen to the Reloading podcast. Thanks for the plug. What podcast number for casting bullets? I'll look back through and let you know in a little bit here. But I got to keep talking because not many other people talk when I'm not. Slackers. So, whole bunch of people just joined in. Howdy, everyone. So, ammo guide. Did one of you guys find out how much it is to?
$21.95 a year.
That's not bad.
So it equals out about 6 cents a day, it says, which I still don't see. Okay, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. Trying to figure out 6 cents a day, what that equals out to be a year. So that's about $21.95.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about 6 cents a day. If you do 365 days. So that's not bad. Surrender, get on that. So Wes Cavina Dodge said, I came for Sharenda's crown, and I'm disappointed. Shane Young said, when can we do a Sal episode for Shot Shells? Well, Shane, you're in luck. Next Tuesday. Pay attention. Keep up. So, and then says you can renew for less. Okay, that's fine. Dead Horse is talking to Travis about his camera. I think Travis has the same cam I have, which is it the 920 or the 922? Something like that.
I was thinking 920 or 930.
I think it's the 922. I don't know. Yeah, 922. Everybody enjoying the view? Oh, look, I'm up by Jason. Oh.
Son of a bitch. Damn mute button. What I was saying was some of that could be lighting, the type of lighting you have, where it's located and whatnot.
Yeah.
That makes a difference too.
Like I don't have a light here today, so you can tell there's a definite difference.
Travis has his makeup mirror right in front of him and it's all lit up. Sorry, Travis.
Okay, so Mike, go over to Cody Charleston. He's got a question. Okay, he says he has a question. He has iron sights on his AR that's chambered in 45. Wants to know where to go. Wants to know the best way to sight that in. Do any of you guys have any? Oh, Sharenda does have her crown on now.
Yeah, 45. It's one of the Glock Fed ones.
Sharenda, you're muted.
Said I had to take these off of it. They won't stand up. To me, they kind of look like chicken feet, but these kind of look like the rack on my little little buck I got a couple weeks ago. They're about this big, but these are rubber. But they were attached for my Halloween costume. Okay, back to reloading.
Very
Okay.
good.
So I personally have not. I've had a PC chambered in 9, but I have not with a had one chambered in 45 or anything else. I would still say I would go to the range and get it on paper and start at 25 and work my way out from there.
Yeah.
When I go for my AR and 223, I sight everything in at a 200-yard zero. So personally, I go for a 50 to 200. They're pretty much the same zero. So I would assume going with a 45, going to 25 yard. I don't know how far out you plan on shooting that at, Cody. Maybe you can answer that here in a second. How far out you plan on shooting? But I would just go out with your irons and start off at getting it dead nuts on at 25 yards. And then probably go maybe 75 and see where you're at. Figure out how much drop you get between there.
And do you understand? You're thinking he's shooting a 45 caliber pistol out of a carbine? Is that what you're thinking, Travis?
That's what I'm interpreting. Wherever I don't know where his remarks went. There it is.
Nope. That's not what he's asking. Says I have some irons on my AR on a 45 pick rail.
Oh,
And he
okay. All
right
right.
Got it in. So what he's talking about,
I got you.
flip at 45 and you got the side.
Yeah, I should go grab my rifle. Yeah, I completely.
That's what he's talking about.
I completely.
That's what Travis was at.
Okay, he's doing the same thing. So you're going to do the exact same thing as if they were not on a 45. My setup's a little different. Let me grab it here in a second. But for me, I'm using a red dot on a 45. So for me, you might have this transfer over to what you're doing, Cody. So the purpose of having your irons or a red dot on a 45 is, let's say you have your low power variable optic. You got 1 to 6, 1 to 8, whatever. So most guys either use 1 or they use all the way, right? So let's say you set that at your 6 or 8 power for your longer stuff, and then you have some targets up closer. Then you would roll your AR over to those 45s to shoot everything close. So for me, what I've done with my red dot on a 45 is I've kind of gone out, zeroed it at what I would consider my common distance that I would be using that at, and that's about 25 yards. Maybe it's 20. But I kind of get that, so anything up close, I can just roll it over and burn the paper with that versus having to grab my scope and turn it back down to 1 power. So there's 2 trains of thought here, though. A lot of guys will tell you zero your irons for just like you would your scope. If you're basically set it up the same thing, 50 to 200 yard zero or 100 yard zero. So you're going to have to kind of figure out how it's going to best suit you, because you're going to pick one of those 2. You're either just going to do like I'm doing and only use it for up close stuff, and you're going to have to remember where your point of impact is when you do that, or you're going to go right for your same zero as you kind of do with your scope. So 100 yard zero or that 200 yard zero. I hope that kind of answered your question.
The problem with the 45 is you can't do that far out of a zero because ballistics.
But we're only talking how far. Like I said, how far is he shooting? And he answered, where did he go? 100. Okay, he says he's going to be shooting out to 150 to 200 yards. So he's going
to
So what
spend an
Mike's-
awful lot of time zeroing that in, because the problem with what he's doing is his bullet path is no longer going like this. He's now he's got his sight here, and his bullet is going like that. So it's going to take him a lot more effort the 45 idea isn't designed for long distance usage. The 45-degree pick rails are designed for close in combat where your optic is too large to use. So I'm not sure why he's trying to go that far out, but it looks like he just said, okay, that makes sense. I was thinking more of a backup to the scope. Yeah, that whole 45 degree is designed for up close. Your maximum distance for that's usually about 50 yards because you can. That's about as far as you can stretch it realistically. So
yeah, there's still professional shooters who like shoot 3-gun that'll still sight their stuff in.
well, yeah, but you know.
Yeah. So what Mike, for those who are listening and not watching, you got to picture your rifle with your scope on top, and then we all know the trajectory of your projectile as it kind of just picture that rainbow. So now turn your rifle to a 45 and picture how the projectile of that's going to go. So at some point when you have your irons or whatever on the 45 offset on your rifle, it's going to be out of that range.
Yeah,
I hate how these cameras do everything backwards.
right.
I'm gonna grab mine here just to show you, but yeah, for me, I just use a red dot, and I know where mine hits at, up close, because there's a lot of times for us paper. I don't care. I can hit paper all day long even with your scope turned up full magnification. It doesn't matter because you see the paper, you pull the trigger. But a lot of times we shoot like golf balls or like smaller stuff. So I've had to go out and zero it I honestly think I zeroed it for 15 yards. I think's what I did. So at that 15 yards, when I have it turned at that 45, I'm fairly accurate with how I have it set up. So like I say, but there's going to be what we're talking about. There's still going to be people who tell you zero it just like you're going, if they weren't on a 45, just still zero it at your 25 or 50 yard. So that's still something that he's going to have to kind of go out and real world application, see where he's hitting with that and see what best suits him.
So some of the guys are talking about I know gravity doesn't care which way the barrel's rotated. But what I'm saying is, with a lot of the times with those 45-degree sights, the sights aren't actually set up, so you're still lined up with your barrel. At least the ones I've seen and used. So maybe he's got better quality ones than a lot of the cheap ones that are out there. So, but, it's one of those that you still got to take your time and effort to sight in. But the original design of those.
Yeah, and honestly, my opinion too is we're just going off to like 45. I really don't feel like it's going to affect it that much unless you were shooting long range with it. Then it's not going to be ideal. So I say my opinion is you've got to figure out what best suits you. Either do like I've done and zero it for something more close up, or just kind of zero it the same as you have your scope. And I will just say that he's got his zeroed at 100 yards. So that's the two options he's got. But this is how I've got mine set up. And we are clear. But right there, you can see I got my red dot right right there. So when I'm shooting, I can just turn it just ever so slightly. I mean, you can see that's not really a lot.
No. So Dead Horse says Troy and Strike are two that he can vouch for as far as being dead on. So I don't know what the ones were that on the rifles I used. I don't have it on mine, so I couldn't tell you as far as that. But Cody said he's going to use Magpuls. I would think that Magpuls got their crap straight. So. But anyway. So it all depends on how it's set up and if it's actually done properly. So, but yeah, ultimately, as Jorgen was screaming in the chat, it doesn't matter where it's mounted as long as once you turn it, it's still directly over the bore. So, but all right. So one of the questions we had earlier in the chat was first press. Excuse me. What would everybody recommend for a first press for a new reloader? And why? Jason? Jason, you're muted.
Oh.
I think it's easier to learn on a single stage. I understand you can learn on a multiple stage because I did a progressive. But I learned on a Lee Pro 1000. I broke it a lot because I didn't understand what I was doing. You have multiple processes happening at one time. If one of them's not set up right, you're going to hurt something, damage something.
Okay.
So I think a single stage is probably the way to go. And when you get into rifle, you might want that single stage anyway. That's how I see it.
Sharenda.
I'm going to go with single stage. That's what I learned on. And for me, it helped learning what to feel for. So even on my progressive, if I'm cranking the handle and I get some type of different resistance than I normally get, I can almost immediately know what went wrong when I was cranking the handle. Plus, I think it's good for a beginner to learn how to manually adjust on a single stage so they know how to work the components versus having somebody else set up the progressive and then they just crank and go on when something's out of alignment. They have no idea where to begin to start adjusting.
Muted, Mike.
Nick and Ray, what do you guys think?
What do you think?
I'd say single stage or a cheap lead progressive. You know, just because you get into reloading doesn't mean you're going to like it. And if you got just a cheap single stage, if you decide you don't like it, it's easy to get rid of. You know, it's not for everybody. It is time consuming and it's not instant gratification like you go out and buy a box of ammo and go shoot. I mean, and I say if you're into it, you're always going to use that single stage.
Yeah, so I'm going to be the odd man out here. First, I would ask what to the new reloader, what is going to be the most volume stuff you're going to be reloading for? If you're going to be doing a bunch of 9.223 like I do, or are you just going to be doing like some hunting loads, some 30-30, 30-06? Those are some of the first questions I would ask the new reloader. I'm going to say the new reloader is probably going to start off with 9mm and 223, or eventually get to that point where that's what they're going to be reloading a lot. And I'm going to say go with a progressive, because you don't have to use it like a progressive, but eventually you can grow into it. And if you buy a single stage, you can pick some up for cheap. Lee's got some cheap ones. But I like to, the saying, buy once, cry once. So if you can afford it, I would say, get a good progressive. If you can learn how to reload on a progressive, then, it's kind of, what's the right way of saying this? It's, you learn the hard way, but you're going to be real good at it.
So do you recommend a 1050 for newbies?
No, if you could afford it, I would say, because we've talked about, I like the 550, but I do feel like that one is leading someone to potentially have a double charge or a no charge case, because they do have to manually index this. We've talked about this quite a few times. With 650 or 750, every time they pull that, it's going to auto index for them. So it's all going to come down to them paying attention, of course.
Yeah.
But like I said,
how
Shredder,
many of us?
what do you have for? Hold
I
on.
had-
Do you
Sorry.
go ahead?
I have both. So I have I got all right, let's just be honest. You start with one press, you end up getting multiple presses for various reasons, like most firearm owners do. You start off with one gun and it just grows. I have a progressive, I got the Dillon 550. I have a single stage at the herder I call Gertie that I got from Jim. I use that to load my 243s on. And I also got a couple of hand loaders. I actually have a bag that I take out of town when I travel, and I'll hand load some rounds too. So I got multiples. I got multiple guns.
Okay, I was thinking you were meaning you had like a 650 and a 550, because
No.
I'm thinking of the picture. I remember you showed us a picture one time of you're Dylan, and you had a seatbelt on it because you were taking it to a class.
Yeah, that's the 550. I strap that in like it's a infant in a car seat.
So if you had if you're a new reloader, we'll forget that. You're not a new reloader anymore. So if you had to go and buy your first press, say you have none, would you rather get a 550 or say a 750? Basically, manual index or have it index for you.
I would probably get the 750.
Okay. So right now, everyone knows 9, 223, 40, 45, whatever. It's more expensive to go buy store-bought stuff now. We've seen a huge influx on our Facebook, our MeWe, Instagram, all of those things, right, Mike? New reloaders are joining us every single day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I said, I would ask what these people are wanting to reload, and I'm gonna say the cartridge that's gonna get the most reloads for them is gonna be handgun ammo. We'll say 9mm, because I don't want to say 40, because who likes that?
Oh, he's not here.
But spend a little bit extra, and if you don't feel comfortable, don't fill the shell plate like it is a progressive. Like I said, you can put one case in, run it through, and do that as many times as you feel comfortable and get used to your machine, and then maybe start putting a second piece of brass in there and running that, and then eventually you'll get to where you feel comfortable. You'll learn that machine, and then before you know it, you'll be loading hundreds of rounds a night. The thing I would hate to do on a single stage is load 223 or 9mm because it just takes so much more effort. And eventually the guys who have that are going to say, I want to buy a progressive. Well, now it's never a bad thing to have a single and a progressive. I would recommend having both, but I think it's perfectly fine. I'm not saying that you have to get a progressive, but for me, I would like to buy a progressive and grow into it versus buying something and then a month or two later realizing that I wanted a progressive and then I have to spend more money to get that.
Right, Travis. But Daniel Anderson brought up a good point. It was about starting out cheap just to see if you were even interested in the hobby, which is exactly what I did, what I do. I start out cheap. Okay, this is fun. Buy another one. Buy another one. Oh, that one's, I like the color on that one. Buy that one. That's kind of how I roll.
So Travis.
Okay, let's start the chastising now.
Nope. I have a question for you. What are all the possible errors you can have in loading in one cycle around the plate on a 750 or 50, 750 or 1050? What are all the possible errors? If someone doesn't know what they're doing
Okay.
and they're using the press, what are all the possible errors?
Okay, so let's back it up because I know where we're going, but let's introduce the same thing on a single stage.
Nope.
Hold on.
We'll get to the single stage. Answer the question. You don't get to argue. You get to answer the question.
Well, I'm going to say it's going to be the exact same things that could happen on a single stage. But what you're referring to is the biggest and the worst is going to be no powder.
Okay.
Or a double charge.
Okay. But what else can you have?
You could also have primer issues where you don't seat primers all the way. You don't put primers in the machine.
You don't eject old primers?
Don't eject. I mean, we're going to go through every single stage. I mean, you could have a problem on every single stage. So then you could go into having your bullets. If you have a bullet feeder or not, we're going to say they don't. You could have your projectiles seated too far, not far enough. I mean, the list goes on and on. But those are all the same issues you could have on a single stage too.
Are you going to have all those same issues on a single stage at the same time?
Well, when
yes or no?
No.
Yes or no? Are you going to have all of those same issues at the same time on a single stage press?
Not at the exact same time, no.
Correct.
But here's what I'm picturing too, though. When we have the blocks, okay, most of us, we're not going to do one case at a time and then pick one up, do all the stuff with one piece of brass. You're going to basically do all your prep work, and then you're going to grab loading blocks, and you're going to fill your loading block up with, let's just say 50 cases, right? And then let's say they take that 50 and they go to their powder dispenser, and depends on what kind of powder dispenser they have. When I started off, I had like an RCBS Uniflow. So then I fill up all my cases with powder.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would go over and pick up each one, because I did start off on a single stage. And then put all your projectiles on, you start seating them. That doesn't mean that the guy misses putting powder in one case or somehow gets distracted and puts two charge in the same case, or goes to start seating his projectiles and he seats them all too far, because that's all happened to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm saying, you could have issues either way you do it.
Yep. I just wanted you to clarify that there are plenty of issues that can happen when you're using a progressive, and they can all happen on one one tour around the block. Versus if you're using a single stage, there's more options to catch the mistakes.
Right. But if, like someone in the comments said, it depends on, is this person mechanically inclined?
Oh, you
you
mean
know,
Jim's question that's on the screen right now? Or Jim's comment?
right in front of me. Yes, right there.
So Jim Adaw said, I would say it depends a lot on the person's background. Are they mechanically inclined? Do they have any hand-eye coordination at all? Should they even be reloading? And yes, that is a legitimate question. Should they even be reloading? Honestly, there are people that should not be reloading. So,
well, and then Mike has shown videos not too long ago. You got to set your machine up. So that goes back to Jim's comment of being mechanically inclined. So you can't just fill up your progressive and just start pulling it and thinking you're going to get out quality product at the end. You would take one piece of brass and run it completely through your cycles, adjusting everything as you go. And then after that, it's on you. And that's why I go back to like a 550. Because I don't know about you guys when you're reloading, but I've got kids that come downstairs. You know, the little guy, you've seen him. He's a hellion when he's down here. I can't focus when that little guy's down here. So I cannot reload when he's down here with me. So on a 550, I'm worried about not paying attention to the powder, either not having powder or double charging that case. So that's why in my mind, I would stay away from the 550 as my first progressive unless you were 100% dedicated to paying attention to that one station, where a 750, you have to completely cycle it through. I would still 100% pay attention to that powder station. But Jason has both machines, right?
I do, yes.
Do you agree that it is more likely to have that happen on a 550 than a 650? Because I don't have a 550. I had a old 450 at one time. It was the same type of deal, but what is your opinion? Because you have both. And let's just clarify too, I'm not being a Dylan fanboy, because after my single stage, I went to the Lee, what's that? Their
Loadmaster?
The Loadmaster. And then like Sharenda said, you got to have multiple presses. So then I got a second Loadmaster. So I had 3 presses set up on my bench. So everything we're all saying, we're all agreeing with each other. I like to be confrontational, I guess, with these guys because I like nice things, and I would like to have a progressive to start off with versus spending twice the amount of money on getting a single and then going to a progressive. But like I said, it doesn't matter what I think. It depends on what the new reloader is going to be reloading, because if they just have one rifle or a couple of rifles and their purpose is for hunting or something completely different than what I do, then what I say doesn't matter. That's where I would say a single stage is going to be perfect for that new reloader.
Right.
For me, the type of shooting and stuff that I do, a progressive makes sense. Like Jim shoots probably his let's just say Jim doesn't shoot at all anymore. Jim's going to get back into shooting, right? So what is Jim going to shoot? Is he going to shoot his 40 out at the range more, or is he going to shoot his 280 Ackley improved? That depends on what press Jim gets to reload with.
Okay, so to answer your question, Travis, The faster progressive would be more dangerous about running out of powder, because on the 550 it takes longer. I'm looking over my machine more. On my 650, when I'm cranking out 40, because 9mm sucks, I've ran that powder hopper down pretty low and then thought, oh crap. And on a machine like yours, that's why you purchase that powder alarm, because it won't take long to run out of powder because it's moving quick.
Yeah.
So
let me grab that real quick. I honestly, Jason, didn't even think about running out of powder when we were discussing this.
Mm-hmm.
I was more thinking of like skipping the stations, but you bring up a perfectly valid point is completely running out of powder. And I should have thought of that, because that 1050 uses components way faster than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a valid point. But there is a solution to that, and it doesn't matter what powder dispenser you use, because something like this would work for it.
Okay.
So while he's going to do that, Paul Nelson was talking about when he started loading, Dylan hadn't made his first press yet. So there was more single stages than there was progressives. So I'm going to wait to weigh in till Travis gets back on part of the answer. Somebody had asked a question on what Dylan can load 30-06. And so I'm going to Google that quick. Looks like we lost Nick and Ray somewhere along that conversation, unfortunately. I don't think you can load 650.
I think you can.
You can?
I think you can. You go ahead and look it up. I'm just going from memory.
Oh gosh, I love Idaho Rogers' comment right there.
No, that's not the best part of it. So he says, best scenario, 2 single stage presses set up at the same table and hand loading side by side with the love of my life. It goes pretty fast. And then there's the second part, which you will have to watch the video to find out what it is, because I'm not saying it, because I'm not going to throw Idaho Rogers under the bus.
Oh, I will. I'll throw him right under there.
Okay.
Until she starts talking.
I saw that and chuckled, but I was going to let y'all read that.
So Nelson said he can load on his RL1000. I think also we're talking about 30-06.
Yeah. So I just grabbed here's the Dylan powder dispenser, and Jason had an excellent point here, but that's what I have, this powder alarm. And this is very simple. You can see it's just got this sits inside, and this moves up and down. It follows your powder. As the powder gets used up, this goes down. It's got this little weight on top. And I don't know why it's not going off right now, because it did a second ago till I dropped it on the table. There we go.
Maybe that's why it's not going off anymore.
Yeah. So, like I say, it sits in there. Powder goes down. Annoying noise. The little red light comes on, and you notice that you're low on powder. So that goes off before you run out of powder and start getting into trouble. So
I have to say that's a nice feature on the primer.
Yeah, and
primer too.
Yeah, and exactly, because that's an annoyance too, to have no primer go in, and then powder goes inside of that, and then you get powder all over your shell plate. But somebody can Google this real quick. This from Dylan. This is an actual Dylan alarm. This is like $25.
Or was $25.
Yeah, if you can find them now. But this is very cheap, and it's nice insurance. The second thing is I don't have the other piece for it. This is a spare that I have. This is a powder check that you can purchase. RCBS has a version. I think what is theirs called? The lockout die. Hornady has a powder cop. Which one? The Hornady?
Yeah.
So there's different styles that you can get. You will have to have space in your progressive for it.
So Hornady is just a manual.
Yeah, and it's called a powder cop, COP.
Yep.
And
It literally
you got
just
one
has a little thing that pops up like that.
Yes, pull that back up real quick. That one's like $20 also for that one. And you will have to pay attention, but that one right there, when he holds it back up, you're going to see it has a little rod that sits on top of your powder, and it has two spots right there. It's got that little ring that you can set the height for what powder you're using, your charge. And if you see that or not, tells you if you have powder or not. So that's good insurance to get versus something like I have. This one that I have from Dylan, it does the same thing. They're all the same concept. It just measures the charge in your case. The only difference from this standard Dylan alarm is when your charge is not there, too full or too less, it trips this alarm and it beeps. And it's annoying, and then you notice there's something obviously wrong. My 1050 with the Mark 7 auto drive, all of those are actually digital. So when that alarm goes off, it turns my machine off. When the powder is low, I don't have that one hooked up to the Mark 7, but that would be a nice addition to that to shut the machine off. But Shrenda said the primer tube has an alarm that does the same thing. It beeps when you're low. My machine has the same thing, but it turns my machine off. So I guess what I'm getting at is there's workarounds from what you guys are kind of saying too, that if there's a will, there's a way. And my way is to get a progressive. Everybody else on the panel said single stage, but like I said before,
I haven't said squat yet.
Actually, you haven't, and you're gonna blow me away if you go progressive on me here.
So here's the thing: is it depends. Do you have a mentor or not? That's going to be the first and most important decision or deciding factor. Is if you have a mentor or not. And what I mean by a mentor is someone that's literally in the same room with you, looking at the same things you're looking at, watching you doing what you're doing. If you have a mentor, game on, dude. Buy what you can buy. If you can afford the Mark 7, go for it. If you can swing a 750, go for it. If all you can swing is a Loadmaster, then go for it. But if you have somebody that's going to be in that room and there's another set of eyes on that press, absolutely go ahead and get that progressive. Because you're going to have another set of eyes to back you up to make sure that you're not screwing up. If you're all on your own, and maybe you're using us as a mentor, or you have another video series or something you're using, maybe not so much. But what I will tell you to do is get a 550. But unlike Travis's thinking, where he's talking about taking that 550 and still setting the whole dang thing up as a progressive, take your 550 and use it as a single stage. You're going to learn all of your procedures. You're going to learn how to do everything. You're going to learn how the powder drop works. You're going to learn how to set up your seating dies. You're going to learn how to set up your crimp die. You're going to learn how to do all that, but you're doing it one stage at a time on your 550 is my thought. And that's changed because when I started this podcast, I was of the mindset of the single stage. So But you use the 550, and there's nothing that says, what I've seen some people do is kind of get a couple of different tool heads and just swap them out as they go. So they start with the decapping die, and then they switch over to the powder, and then they switch over to the seating. So each die is in the correct spot in the tool head. So you're learning the station by station. So your first station is your decapping and sizing. Your second station is your powder. And if you're doing 9, then your case mouth expanding. And then your third is your bullet seating. And then your fourth is your crimping. And the only reason you really need to crimp, in my opinion, in these particular cases, is if you're on handgun ammo, at least for 9 or 40, or 45, is if you're belling that mouth out in the first place to make seating that bullet easier. That's what the crimp would be for. So you're just literally taking that bell you put in there and then putting it back to the way it's supposed to be. That's all I'm talking about for a crimp in this particular case. So you go each station and you learn each station and you learn how to watch for each thing. And you learn that way. But yeah, if you've got a mentor and you've got somebody, even if it's by video, and you've got the camera set up so they can see the same thing you're seeing, and they can see the whole press and the whole activity, then yeah, go ahead, jump down that rabbit hole, grab that progressive, and away you go. If not, 550 is an option. The latest iteration of the Lee Classic turret now actually has a option to auto index. So you can start with that turret press and you can start your single stage like we're talking about, but then you can flip that puppy over and now you've got an auto indexing press. So it's not quite a true progressive, but it's still going to do the same process. If you're loading rifle, different ballgame. Depends on what you're loading for. Now, if you're loading 30-06 for your Garand, and that's all you're loading, then, look into a progressive press maybe that will allow you to do that. You could go that 550 route or that type of thing. So, that type of thing. Like Paul Nelson just said, custom tool heads that are out there, you can actually do precise reloading on your 550s and your 750s because they account for that shell plate flex. So you can do your premium reloading on that 550 or on that 750. So you could do that. So Daniel, you're wrong. No.
Hey, can we agree on one thing though?
No.
Daniel's wrong. That's what we can agree on.
Well, I was gonna say, Sharinda, your hair looks amazing.
Ah, thank you.
Jason, yours too.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm looking for big hair hat suggestions. I can't find hunting hats to fit on my hair anymore.
Well, if you need big head, I'm sure. Look at Jason. That chrome dome. That looks huge.
So she needs what's one of those big old baggy head things? I'm trying to think.
The Rastafarian hats.
Rastafarian, yes.
I can't find them in Blaze Orange.
Etsy.
Knit one.
Do I look like I knit?
Well, do you look like you reload?
Okay, that's true.
Ding! One for Travis.
Woo!
That's
Travis.
true. Damn, Travis. Travis, I actually have no comeback for that. I'm just going to sit here and be quiet now. Camo do-rag, yes. Hunt shoot off roads. I've been looking for one of those too.
And Paul Nelson's comment, that is correct.
Yeah, this is why you're wrong, Daniel Anderson. New guys pay all hazmat fees.
So real quick though, back to the press situation.
Yes.
I didn't bring up like a turret press because I have messed up on a turret press more times than not.
So you
when
have fears of the turret press. So you're scared of them. So that's why you didn't bring it up.
Well, no, but you have all the holes in there, right? And what do? We all put all the dies we can to fill those holes. That's what a lot of guys do. If you look at if you look at any videos out there of anyone with turret presses, they're going to hold up their tool head.
You are extrapolating your shortcomings across to the rest of us, and that doesn't work.
If we could take a survey, I guarantee you most guys are going to be on the side of filling that thing up. And what has happened is you'll put 223 here, and let's say 308 or 9mm on this side, and then you get pulling the handle, turning your turret, your tool head, and then you get distracted and you turn it to a complete different caliber, and then you like crush something. That's why I didn't bring up. I don't particularly like turret presses either.
So the step that you went wrong there is we're learning. So we're only loading one caliber at a time. And when we're only loading one caliber at a time, or one cartridge at a time, not even a caliber, a cartridge, let me be correct, you would only have one set of dies out at a time.
Okay, well, so let's back it up, though. What you just said doesn't matter because the same thing, you could still lose track of where you're going and then run the wrong one down and mess something up, right?
Possible.
I would go single stage before I went turret.
So, fair enough.
Exactly. GGW, it sounds like operator error. And
that's what we're trying to minimize. So, yeah, I would say, honestly, ultimately, if you're a 3-gun shooter or competition shooter and you're getting into it because you can no longer find your ammo for cheaper than you can reload it, that's a different story than some of the other things. Ultimately, press choice comes down to a couple of factors. What you're loading, how much you need to load of it, and what's your budget. Those are your 3 primary factors. If you're loading 7mm Remington Magnum for elk hunting because you don't want to pay the absorbent prices they want for that ammo, and you're loading it for elk hunting, so you only need 20 to 40 cartridges, and your budget got spent on the rifle and the optic, a 550 or 750 isn't practical. You're going to get a single stage, and you're probably, unless you can get a good deal on a used decent press, you're probably going to be getting that Lee anniversary kit and then buying yourself a digital scale to go with it. So, I mean, that's kind of the ultimate thing here is what you're reloading, how much you need, and what your budget is. So, ultimately, get into the hobby and get equipment that fits your needs. And maybe that is starting out on a single stage because you're not a very confident person and you work on projects all the time and you're always thinking you're going to screw something up when you're doing stuff that other people think is simple. So maybe you start out with that single stage press because you've got the budget to buy a single stage press right now, and then you can upgrade to that progressive. Or like I said, get the 550 and then use it as a single stage. So that's the beauty of the 550 with that manually indexing press is you can control, and it's also a drawback. I will fully announce that it is a drawback. You can control where that case is on the shell plate and in what process you're at. The drawback is if you forget to turn it, it's easy to double charge a case. If you turn it too far, it's easy to not charge a case. Whereas most of your actual progressives, you actually have to screw up operation of the lever to make one of those things happen. So, yeah, I'm going to skip that one. So, Chico Weiss said, new reloaders, most manuals, primers, boxes, powder jugs, state carelessness, or incorrect hand loading can cause hazardous conditions resulting in serious personal injury. It had to be said, be and stay safe. So, so a couple people have said in the chat, you will always have a use for a single stage. Yes and no. Yes, you always may have a use for a single stage, but a lot of times when you get to a certain point in life with your reloading, do what you're doing. If you're a competitive shooter, using a single stage slows down your operation. Travis, do you resize anything on a single stage for 9 or 223?
Not for those ones. No.
Right. So if you're a competitive shooter and that's what you're doing, you may not always necessarily have to have a use for that single stage. Yeah, in worst case scenario, you can turn around and sell it because people love buying single stages, and it's not going to really lose a lot of money as far as value goes. So, and as Sharenda can show you, she's got a Herter's press that was probably late 60s, early 70s. Out in the garage somewhere, I've got a Pacific that's just as old. And they still hold their value. They still hold their worth. They still hold their use. So, yeah.
Can I add on to your comment too? I'm just a bottom of the scale, go out every once in a while and compete in those still competitive shooter matches. But for me, the progressive worked out better for my first, even though I learned on a single, because I was also learning how to shoot and working on my marksmanship. So I needed to crank out 500 to 1,000 rounds a week because that's how often I was shooting. I wouldn't have had the time to do that on a single stage. But I also had the mindset that I was still going to get a single stage. I actually wanted both.
So if you go, there's a F Class Johnny on YouTube, and then Eric Correa. He's a competitive. So both of them, I know Eric. I just watched a video that he put out. He uses this. He has two 750s that he's using. They use them for different things than we're talking about. But guys like that are even using progressive presses. They're also using single stage presses. You can use one for one purpose, and then like Sharenda said, she wanted both. There's nothing wrong with Eric Cortina. So there's nothing wrong with having one press, two press, 6 presses or more, right?
Yep.
Like Mike said, I don't think any of us here on the panel have just one press, right?
I refuse to admit how many I have, but I also have multiple reasons for having them. Right. One of which is what we're doing right now. So,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I can honestly say if I didn't do the podcast, I wouldn't have as many as I do. But, I know people. First off, I know people that are twisted and love the Reload Master, which, to be fair and honest, when you get it set up right, it's a great little press. You can get a bullet feeder and a case feeder, and once you actually pay attention to it and get it set up right, they run like a top. And you can get all of that for less than you would pay for a Dillon Square B without anything. So, but I know people that literally have Loadmasters for every cartridge they load for handgun. So they have one for 380, they have one for 9, they have one for 40, they have one for 45, they've got one for 357 and one for 44. Literally a Loadmaster of each. I also know people who have Dillon 650s for the same thing. Obviously, they have a heck of a lot bigger budget. So, but I mean, you can get down to the point. Well, that explains why Travis had that goofy smile on his face for so long. He froze. Bye, Travis. So, but I mean, that's the thing is, it kind of depends on what you're doing. So, Chris Sharp said, reloading podcast, I would say competitive shooting. What's the competition? And he has a valid point. Said 3-gun versus extreme long range. I would say that makes a difference on the press too. True. You're probably not going to use a 750 if you're shooting extreme long range. You're also probably not going to be using a Lee. So, Paul Nelson said he's got a rack chucker that he wore out. So yeah, there is, I mean, that's the other thing is you can wear presses out. And that was kind of in my comment about old presses. They keep their value. But yeah, you can get them worn out too. So you got to kind of watch when you're buying used. Make sure it's not sloppy and worn out and stuff like that. So, but we'll see if, I don't know if Travis is going to make it back. But we're about done anyway. So,
Travis said his internet cut him off for some reason.
His internet hates freedom. Dang it. So, all right, gang. Well, we're going to wrap this up anyway. So, Nick, Ray, any last thoughts?
No.
Jason? You missed.
I was waiting for Jason to say something. You're on mute, Jason.
Son of a gun.
That's why I said and you missed.
I hate that mute button. No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Shrenda?
My usual. Show a lady how to reload.
All right. Well, we still got to do shout outs, but this is just, so Nick, Chico Wise wants to know, do you have a channel?
I don't have enough time.
He doesn't have enough time.
I work 2 jobs and I don't have enough time.
Well, I'll tell you what, since you don't have enough time, if you got stuff you want to post, we'll host it for you.
Sounds good.
So.
Hey, Mike, Chico wants to sub. We should get him on one evening.
There we go.
I agree.
Yep. So we've got an open invitation. If any of you out there want to join us on the show, send me an email, reloadingpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll make it happen. So, I mean, we're all just regular reloaders. We've all got different areas that we focus in. We've got different things that we do, but we're all just regular reloaders. Well, maybe Travis isn't regular. He's kind of odd. But, I mean, that's the thing is we all are just regular reloaders and we're talking about our experience and stuff. So, but Paul Nelson did bring up one important point and Dead Horse kind of followed up on it is there are certain presses you cannot use for certain cartridges. So like, 416. So you kind of can't really load that on a lot of presses. 50 BMG really can't load that on a lot of presses. And some of it is, especially with 50 BMG, some of it is the presses cannot handle the amount of pressure that you need to be able to complete the operations, especially sizing. Some of it is a case of the press literally does not move enough. It does not have enough vertical movement to be able to do that. So there you go, Nick. There's a new sign off for you.
There we go.
So Travis, you got any last words to say?
No, just that what you said was very well thought out, and I agree with what you said, Mike.
What's the 911 in Idaho? I think aliens abducted his ass while he was off the air.
I'll have to put like a sign on my palm of my hand.
I think that's a new ringtone. Hook'em, that might have to be a new ringtone.
Oh dang, we dang it. We've got a new song that we should have posted for the listeners.
Oh yeah, I don't.
Is
have
it
it on here.
mine?
No, I'm talking about
Okay.
the other one that Hunt
I'll have
Shoot
to get
Off Road remixed for us.
I'll have to get those on this computer. I don't have them on this one yet, so.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's just it all depends on what you're doing. So, but and like I said, there's some of them. It all depends on what you're doing, how you're doing it. You can use a turret as a single stage. You can use, especially a 550 as a single stage. Honestly, if you really wanted to, you could use a Loadmaster or a 650 or a 4x4 or a lock and load AP or a 750 or a 650 or a 1050. You could use all of those as a single stage if you really want to, gang. So honestly, there's all sorts of different options for the press. The biggest thing with it is make sure you pay attention to what the hell you're doing. Listen, folks, this is a serious hobby. If you screw up, you can die. Okay? Period. If you screw up doing this hobby, you can die. So it doesn't matter what you're reloading on, whether you've got a Lee loader and you're sitting there with the brass hammer having at it, or you've got a Mark 7 that's top of the line, brand new, just rolled out of the factory. If you screw up, you can die. So pay attention to what you're doing. Double check yourself at every second. Never get complacent in this hobby. So on that note, gang, thanks to everybody that tunes in live and gives us a thumbs up or a like. Thanks to everybody that listens to the show weekly or monthly or however you listen to it. For those of you who are interested in back shows that are no longer hosted on the site, shoot us an email at reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. I've actually got I've got a link on to a Google Drive folder that actually has every show. So as a MP3 that you can get to. So we are on Discord. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are on good grief. MeWe. So you can find us all sorts of places. Special shout out to Becky Yackley. It was nice to meet you last week. And Travis, I'm sorry. Travis is kind of jealous that I got to meet one of his heroes in the shooting world.
Yes,
So.
Becky Yackley is my dream woman.
So the funny story on this is she stopped into Cabela's, and until I found that 1148 that I was showing off last week, I had a old Damascus side-by-side double hammer 12 gauge that I had on hold that I was going to make into a wall hanger because it had some really nice engraving on it. The wood had some good checkering. It was old. The barrels were all, the inside of the barrels weren't the best. So it's not like I was going to use it for shooting, but I was going to make it into decoration. It was a decent price. But then I saw the 1148. And so I put that back. Well, her son came in with her and was looking at it. And I came up to him and said, hey, that's exactly what I was going to do with it, was make it into a wall hanger. And we kind of went over all the different designs in the metal and everything. And so he's now going to be doing that as a project. And so they're going to send me pictures. And from the minute she walked up to the counter, you know how you see people and you think that they look familiar, but you're not sure. That's what I had thought. But then I was busy with other customers and everything. Well, then when everything was all said and done, I said, I really want to see what it's like when you're done. And she said, well, do you have an email address? Spelling my name's kind of a pain in the ass. So I just gave her the podcast email and she goes, okay, I'll follow you on, she goes, yeah, I'm following you on Instagram now. And at this point, I still hadn't realized who it was until I pulled up Instagram and looked. So, and there we go. So, but yeah, just kind of that's that whole little backstory on that. So it was fun. But I'm waiting to see what he does with that shotgun because it was kind of a cool old piece. So, and sometimes it's fun just to see what you do with the old stuff and just make it look neat on the wall.
Sure.
Anyway, that email address is reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. The telephone number to send us voicemails or send us text 608-467-0308. You can get a hold of us at various places. Rusty Guy wants to know if we're going to be active on Parler. Personally, I'm on Parler. I'm not real impressed with it. It's more of a Twitter thing than it is a Facebook or anything thing. I'm happy with what we've got going on MeWe and Discord, so I'm probably not going to do anything with the podcast. But if one of the other members of the crew wants to, then so be it. And but I know Travis is keeping our Instagram page going, so maybe at some point in time. But there isn't a current plan to go on to Parler very much. So as far as that goes. But what kind of brings that conversation is there's a lot of people that are escaping Facebook. Some people are going to Parler. Some people are going to MeWe. We've already had a presence on MeWe for a while, so it doesn't really... we're just kind of working on building that up even more and spending more time on MeWe with everybody there. We've got some great people like Daniel Anderson, who's always on there commenting, and I greatly appreciate that. So,
well,
I
Mike,
like MeWe. Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, if you've listened to one of the last We Like Shooting episodes, Sean kind of talked about MeWe and Parler.
Yep.
And he agrees that MeWe is set up more, it's more user friendly. Yep. And I agree that I'm not going to join Parler. I think MeWe's probably going to be more the hangout place for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I agree with what you're saying on that. Gosh dang it. I said it again. I agree with you.
All right, folks, if the world ends tonight, I'm sorry. It's not my fault, though. So, yeah, I know Sean and I have been talking behind the scenes a little bit about that, and we've been on MeWe for quite some time. So, but yeah, now We Like Shootings. Actually, as of December 1st or January 1st, he's actually going to be getting rid of locking down and shutting down all of the Facebook We Like Shooting stuff. So, but so yeah, there's some social media changes coming. So we'll see what happens with all that. We don't have any plans to shut down any of the Reloading podcast stuff on Facebook. We've still got the page. We've still got the group growing strong. So, yeah, GGW Reloading. Send me an email and I'll get you the link for Discord. So
now, Mike, can listeners go over to the Firearms Radio Network and go over to the Reloading podcast and then have links to all of the Discord, MeWe, Facebook, all of our groups?
This second, no, but I'm working on getting that all set up.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'll get Discord links and MeWe links set up over there because it's a little, especially Discord, because MeWe is kind of difficult, but Discord, you literally have to have a link to get anywhere. So,
well, I know there is another cool link over there, though. That is the Patreon link.
Yes, it is. And we are greatly appreciative of all of our Patreons who help make this show possible every week. So, it just can't thank them enough. So, all right, gang. Yeah, so like I said, thank you to all of our Patreons. I can't thank everybody enough. We've got so many people to be grateful for that listen and interact with us every week. Just thanks to everybody that continues to help make this a success. So, and on that note, gang, Keep your brass shiny.
Be an asset, not a liability.
And I agree with Mike Iceland.
I'm stealing your idea, CSR Industries. Get on the short bus and buy surplus.
That's awesome.
Thank you guys.
That's right. You got to say it again, Sharonda. Because it's like 20 minutes later.
Oh man, show a lady how to reload.
And since he's not here, and we can pick on him, we're going to go old school since we're talking about the old guy.
Poor Jim.
And remember to squeeze that trigger. Don't yank it. Just squeeze.